Good morning. Here I am with Enzo from HomyHub, as it says here below. Enzo and I are going to talk about the Connected Mobility Hub investor event today. Enzo was one of the participants of the 2019 investor event. The Connected Mobility Hub is an association of smart mobility startups from across predominantly Southern Europe, but from around Europe. There are about 150 of them at the moment. And every year we do an investor event. We do four things generally. We help with open innovation pilots. We help with networking between the startups and generally within the ecosystem. We help with communication and visibility, whether that be assisting events to bring startups, which we do, for example, with EFEMA in Madrid. We've done it in Malaga. We've done it with Smart Mobility in Barcelona. We've done juries in the European EU's prize for startup prize for mobility, H2020 evaluations, etc. So we help generally with visibility for the startups. And the fourth thing is we do this. We have this investor community, and we do this investor event once a year. So the event this year is happening surprisingly online. And we're doing pitching sessions on the 8th, the 15th, the 21st, and the 28th of July. We have 5 sub-verticals, so basically we're doing one per sub-vertical. We're putting 2 together so that we can fit it within 4 weeks. And then we're doing a networking event using a really cool tool that you'll see when at the beginning of September. We're doing a networking event at the beginning of September, where we do networking between investors for half of it, and then we do networking between investors and startups for the other half of it, and then we organize one-to-one meetings, etc., which is almost exactly the same thing that we do, or is exactly the same thing that we do offline, which is what Enzo will now be talking about from last year. But obviously this year doing it offline. The interesting, doing it online this year, whereas offline last year and the year before. The interesting thing this year is that there's a series of investors that haven't been to the events before. Obviously, by doing it online, there's an opportunity for people from different geographies to connect, and we've got a number of people from the US. We've got a number of people from Southeast Asia, a lot of people from Northern Europe who wouldn't if not come to the event. So I think this year is going to be very interesting, and now we'll jump into it. So Enzo, if you could just tell people about yourself, about HomyHub, what you do, where you come from, etc.
Okay, so first of all, thanks, Tom, for inviting me to this talk, to this chat more than talk. So basically what we do in HomyHub is, as our mission states, we unlock the full potential of garages to make a valuable space in people's life. So based on that mission, and considering that there is a market of more than 125 million garages between Europe and USA alone, we started to tackle the basic problem and issues that garages has. So basically, every time and it's coming from a personal story from the founders. Like every time you were out of home and someone else needed to get access to our garage, there was no way to be accessed remotely in this case, at least straight away, right? So from whenever, anywhere you are. Second point on this is, like, even though if you give the remote or the garage keys to someone in advance, then you actually didn't know who or when they were really accessing the garage. It's really easy to copy those garage remotes and keys. And if it's someone you don't trust, basically you can have a security breach in your garage forever, right? And for last, it was a part of convenience. So one day I was taking a route with my bike, and I was carrying too many things and asking myself, like, we really still need to carry these things nowadays, right? So that was kind of the beginning of all of it. And from that, we developed our first part, that is a solution that turns in this case, the smartphone into smart garage remote. But the beauty of what we're doing in terms of mobility is that this is only the base. So we see our development basically as a product and a service layer. And this is a product. On top of this, we have created a marketplace, which could be seen also kind of an app stores for garages in some way, where companies create their services or their apps in some way, and the garage. It could be for existing services or for creating new ones. We have 3 categories there: secure deliveries, sharing economies, and connected cars. And the most to finish my point on this, like the easiest example is a secure delivery one. So, for example, a secure delivery, last mile logistic couriers or operators, which actually you are very well related to in this case. They integrate so they can use the garage as a secure delivery point for the customers at any time. So basically, in words as one of our users, we allow the end consumer to turn their garage, in this case of single family homes, into a mailbox, into a giant mailbox. So they can receive packages without having to wait at home in a secure manner. Last mile logistic operators, they avoid the failed delivery, which is a huge issue nowadays in the logistics sector. So this is basically how we're turning the garage from a point or from a place to save your car boxes or your car to a place where the possibilities are limitless, and our technology makes it possible. Therefore, bringing disruption in a smart mobility through garages to the society. So the role I play there, I'm the co-founder and CEO. I'm just one of my team of 12 for nowadays. And basically I started this because I felt it straight away a passion to get my hand on this and say, okay, we have to make this happen, basically.
Well, you're a very passionate person as well, very energetic, very focused. Listen, before I jump into a question, David Booth here on LinkedIn had one asking, is there a video? I assume he means is there an explanatory video of HomyHub? I guess you can respond to the comment later on, or you can tell us. Sure. Now.
This is from an investment point or from a product standpoint. If it's a product, sure, it is. It's in the HomyHub.com website. You can see we have it in English or in Spanish. The website, everything actually, the app, everything is prepared for both languages. And in the website you'll find explanatory video of the product. And if it's a video of like the company HomyHub itself, we actually had the video from our round. We did well, that's why we're talking here. We did a crowdfunding round last year, and there is our video explaining like the whole vision of the company. And of course, way more pictures and better way that I'm explaining right now.
That was and that was one of the questions I was going to jump to, actually, because that video focused quite a lot on the pilots that you did with postal services. I think it mentioned both Correos in Spain and Royal Mail in the UK. I'm not sure if it mentioned both or just one, but I know that you've done pilots with both. Could you just talk a little bit more about that, because obviously that's really interesting. They're really interesting case studies to explain where the value is from HomyHub.
Yes. So just to highlight, or just to a point in this case, that from those two players you mentioned, which the ones we already did the pilots is Correos. We actually still pending pilot with Royal Mail in this case.
Well, the English were always a little bit slow.
We're waiting for the Queen to call us.
We're waiting for the Queen.
And actually, we're working with other big couriers in Spain and other big couriers in Europe. So hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have really good news. Everything got delayed as everything in Europe due to the COVID, but it is going steadily in case of those other partnerships. So going back to that point, the first, and it was interesting because when we started, I mean, we were accelerating our first step as a company. We had this vision and so on. We started in Area 31 in IE Business School. That was like a pre-seed, actually idea stage. We put some things in place, and we went to start a bootcamp in London, start a bootcamp IoT acceleration. To make the story short, after our acceleration process, we finally saw the vision of product and services. It was not from scratch. It was while developing, say, well, there's a huge potential of a garage. Why not solving the last mile issue? So we started knocking doors in UK too at the beginning, and so everybody says like, it makes sense, but look another courier to make it happen, typical, right? Like, and then call us. So everybody was like the hot potato, right? Like moving the potato to one side to another one. And I said, this is going to happen. I mean, I'm not going to sleep until I find a courier that tests this with us. And I was continuously knocking doors on Correos, and they showed up. Basically, they say, well, at the beginning, they say, we are not sure this is going to happen. This is going to work. Basically, we don't believe it. Actually, Spain is a complicated market. There is a trust fact in Latin culture that is not the same like is in Northern or USA. So we're not sure if this is going to work here, but let's try it, right? So we tried and it worked. They were amazed by the result of a pilot. It was 3 times the minimum goals they set for the pilots to take it as a successful pilot. And then they straight away decided and say, okay, let's launch it into the market. It was proposed to be launched by the end of last year. It got delayed to the national elections and so on because Correa is really involved in the national elections. And it was proposed for a COVID time, and now COVID postponed again for this third quarter of the year. But it's going to be soon on the commercial scale, starting from Madrid as initial phase, like for between 6 months and 12 months, and then scale into the rest of Spain as a service.
Okay, I mean, I guess it's quite interesting because Spain's perhaps at first glance not the best market for this because there aren't that many single family homes. But on the other hand, it resolves a problem in the kind of places, and this is globally, it resolves a problem that isn't being resolved at the moment by solutions like smart boxes, et cetera, that have to be, because of the way they work, have to be in places with a high density of population. And you're doing it in areas, I mean, that are in effect, they're the suburbs, right? That you're doing this. So it makes a lot of sense. And I guess also places where the delivery times, when you have failed deliveries, which sometimes, at 3, most courier companies stop delivering. After the 3rd failed delivery, they stop delivering, but they go up to 3. The times involved in doing those deliveries are obviously higher because there's a lower density of population. So it takes you longer. Okay, listen, just let's jump on to another type of client, because I know also that you've been talking about electric car charging. Now, obviously, this is an issue, again, in low density areas. It's more of an issue because it makes less sense to have centralized charging stations, or they're a longer distance away, and fear of running out of charge or whatever. So you talk us a little bit through that use case as well, please.
Yeah. Well, just another point in here. Even though it seems like there are not that many single-family homes in the garage with garages in Spain, we have already more than 4 million. So it's kind of let's say it's a decent market to start. And you were completely right in the points of complementing, basically, as Correo saw, it's like, okay, we're complementing the last mile. So we have lockers for inner cities and garages for the outskirts in this case. So in that way, they complement and they have the same benefits of the lockers, but on the outside. So efficiency in the route and so on. So that's on one side. Going on the electric charging, or what it's called. I mean, that comes, again, it's not an isolated, it's not like a white label thing we do for every of these companies. To better understand, it's the same product. So basically, you buy if you live in a single family home, you buy your starter kit, right?
Yeah.
Which is this is it's a DIY product in the case of single family homes. Or if it's in a community, it's by budget, blah blah, and our installers go and fix it and install it for you in the community buildings, right? In the multifamily buildings for people from other part of Spain listening to us, right? So the things like, then you have the app and you go to the service layer and the service panel and you activate the services you want, right? So if you're in a single family home, secure delivery, if you are in a multifamily, this is where it comes. Sharing economy services. In these sharing economy services, one of the ones we're developing right now is block sharing, what it's called usually in the sector. So basically the ability to allow you to share your electric vehicle charger with someone else when you're not using it. I mean, again, we don't create a service. Again, the same way we don't deliver, it's Correos who delivers, and we allow Correos to use their garage to in a secure way to deliver your box. In this case, we just partnered 2 months ago, or 1 month ago, more or less, with the two biggest utility companies in Spain, which is Naturgy and Iberdrola, separately, right? So both of them are trying to democratize the charging ecosystem by allowing the people who has a garage charger in their garage to share it with someone else, and we are the link between them. So what it means there, if you have a charger and you go into most of this is being created right now by this utility. So you go in their app of sharing the EV sharing charger. When that's third party rents, that parking space with the charging included, doesn't have to meet with you to give the access and so on. It happens thanks to HomyHub. So that third party comes to your building. And the app has a button that says open the garage, and that is calling to our API, right? Because you as a user pre-authorize and say, hey, HomyHub, I'm syncing this service with you that you are controlling my garage. So please allow this service to get access to my garage when they need it in a secure manner, and let me know everything that happens with that access, right? So this is basically how, again, we are complying with our mission of unlocking that full potential of a garage by making a valuable space in people's lives. In this case, by allowing block sharing to happen, and therefore bringing this benefit to society, which is pushing electric vehicles due to making available more chargers. So therefore, the charging is not an issue for you, or to buy or to use electric vehicle in this case.
Yeah, and just I'm just trying to think it through as an end user, both as an end user that has a garage, or as an end user that's using it. By doing it with the utilities, it just makes it incredibly simple. Naturgy, instead of maybe charges you 10 cents a minute to the end user that's charging, right? For saying a quantity, obviously I've got no idea what the pricing is, but charges you 10 cents a minute to the user, maybe pays 2 of those cents to the guy who has the garage. So it subsidizes their garage, in effect, their rent, whatever it be. And the end user has access to 4 million charging points, which immediately changes the whole ecosystem in terms of electric charging. And then even to the point that for Naturgy, it would make sense for them to install the charging facilities for free, and maybe instead of paying them 2 cents to the person that has the garage, they pay them 1 cent. But now they've installed, they're charging all these users for doing the charging in the first place. So it supports their entire model. I mean, it's a game changer in effect, instantly, because then if there's more electric vehicles, obviously that changes the electric market generally because of the use of batteries, as storage of energy, etc. I mean, it changes everything almost instantly. Okay, that's really cool. I didn't know that it was only a month ago, but I've said we've come up with the point at the right time. So look, listen. Next one, just one. Is COVID-19. So COVID-19, how has it affected your business, and how do you see it affecting your business long term? Obviously, you've talked about in the short term, it's stalled the plans with Correos, it stalled the plans with Royal Mail, but how do you see it sort of changing generally the business environment for you?
Yeah, so we had, again, I will go back 1 point. In the case of sharing economies, this expands the possibilities in terms of garages, because as these companies are targeting the service, they are more focused on multifamily buildings. So if we sum up the multifamily buildings in Spain, there are more than 5 million with automatic garages. So this is our numbers can go even better. So we have 4 million of single family, exactly. So we have total more than 9 million automated ones. You have more garages in Spain, but this is for sure the ones that are automated, which is where we plugged in, basically.
Yeah.
So being that, I'm being poking on this, because sometimes when mostly this is coming more from the investor standpoint that are out of our scope. Sometimes they see the garage market as a kind of a very, very, very niche So when you start seeing the numbers, and actually UK has more or less the same numbers. People in UK, they also think like, oh, garages, okay, yeah, there are like 2 or 5 of them here. So no, there are 9 million also in UK. And if you start counting Europe, there are like more like 60 million or so automated ones. So okay, I will shut up on this. I'll move on the next topic, COVID in this case. So we are not. I mean, they were very. I will say the majority of the companies were affected by this. Of course, there was a sector, and I'm glad that a sector got benefit of the COVID in terms of business, because money needs to flow. So the money needs to go somewhere. So at the end goes somewhere else, right? In our case, in terms of the B2C sales, mostly, it was shocked. So it was almost like Pedro Sanchez coming on the screen and say, state of alarm is declared, and suddenly like no sales. It was like a direct cut on sales during state of alarm. The state of alarm was almost over, and boom, it ramped up again, right?
Yeah.
And we're in that process of ramping up again and catching up with the B2C sales. In terms of B2C, we sell directly through HomyHub.com, and right now, since I think like a month ago too, through Amazon. Amazon.s by now, and we're thinking on expanding to the rest of Europe through Amazon too. And it's going really well. In this case, actually, we got even part of Amazon Launchpad, which is a category especially for startups that are selected by them and so on. So this is on this part. But it was talking about how COVID it is. Like it was amazing how like it was saying like no buy during COVID. COVID is ending by. So it was amazing the effect of at least
it just paused everything.
Yeah. Exactly, it was like exactly like pressing pause and play, literally. So we hope that to continue, because again we know all the possible effects of the economical crisis will come, not now, but they will come harder and harder. That's why that's why also, for example, in our case, we decided to go really fast on Amazon, because Amazon allows us to test all the markets like Germany and UK really fast in terms of B2C, because you just have to open another store there, which is easier than tackling the market by yourself. And in terms of the pilots and services layer, as we see a new generation services, we call it. There are 2 ways. There are 2 things. When the delivery part, we have seen, because again, all the couriers are pushing us, a higher demand for these contactless services, deliveries, right? And actually, it was interesting because before the pilot, we had the Google alert set for our keyword secure delivery. It was very rare that someone types or includes that word in the internet. Yeah. During the COVID and so on, secure delivery was all over, and the couriers were actually looking for that. So we had all the couriers now contacting us to allow this service to happen, to avoid, because when you think on the service of the secure delivery, everything happens unattended. So you don't have to take attention to the carrier, and this is good when you're out of home. But when you're out of home means that you don't even have to get in contact with the guy. Everything happens automatically. The guy opens the garage, places a package, closes the garage, and it goes away, which comes in terms of pandemic due to these social distances that we have to take, right? So what we see on that side is very likely from what we're seeing, we'll get a push on that side. The tapes of the secure delivery will come even to reality even faster. More than to reality, to mainstream is what I mean in this case. Actually, will be the better word. In the case of electric sharing economy and so on, it got a freeze during the state of alarm because no one was moving their cars, basically. But in any case, the same happened to these companies, that when the economy reopened again, they saw an increase on demand on the chargers again. So basically, coming back to reality in this case, because we were discussing with this, but what they think of is that also people realizes how polluted we were doing, and we have a long way to fix.
Yeah.
And maybe, and this is totally a hypothesis, maybe this will mean that electric vehicles will get even stronger push to say, okay, we saw what happens when we stop polluting the world. Maybe you need to go finally to hybrid or electric vehicle to make that happen faster, right? So we hope this to happen, and this is a mindset change, right? That the society is pushing, and very likely also the energy. Therefore, the block sharing will be even more important to make this happen, right? So these are the two things. And also, I forgot to mention one of them. What we saw an increase also due to COVID. Our product allows you to not only to open from anywhere, but to share access through virtual remotes, what we call e-keys, virtual remotes, whatever you want to call it, in other kind of products. And after the state of alarm, and after the state of alarm, the quantity of virtual remotes shared by garages has been increased from the previous and after of COVID. So this means that, again, people is being aware of digital access is more important. It's important now more than ever, because you avoid sharing the things like. So what I mean by this is like, as people straight away go converted finally to avoiding virtual calls like this, what we have, into finally seeing as usual. And it's like, forget about moving from one side to another one to meet each other. Let's do it digitally, and that's it. It's the same. It's almost the same thing. It's not the same thing, but it's almost the same thing. We think what we're seeing is also a change of mindset in terms of access to. So people already were aware of the digital access, but now it's like, okay, I have it in my hand. Why I'm not sharing this with someone else instead of giving a remote and so on. So we hope these trends to continue in the process, because this will also our business is not depending on these trends to make it happen, because there's a market already there, but for sure it will catalyze the growth of companies like ours, not only ours. There are many other solutions that will benefit from this digital mindset from now on.
To be honest with you, I was, as you were talking, I was just trying to think of some trends that would change things, and I actually put two more down than you put. Sustainable transport. I think it's not just going to be from the end user's point of view. That is true that we've, I uploaded a post in LinkedIn where you saw the difference in New Delhi between before lockdown and post lockdown. And before lockdown, you couldn't even see what was happening in there was so much smog. And then during the lockdown there were blue skies. It was really scary actually to see it. So I don't think it's just going to be from a user point of view. I think there's going to be support from governments in terms of sustainable transport. I mean, I think we've already seen that in France. Germany, I think, has already said the same thing. The UK said something about £5 billion pounds. I'm not sure exactly what payments, but it's all focused on sustainable transport. I think there's also going to be more private transport. People are worried about public transport, and if there's more private transport and it's more sustainable, that probably means more electric vehicles, which means more need for charging facilities. And then there's one more, which is also related to the recession, that if I do have a garage and it's empty, I know, 20% of the time, or every day while I'm at work, whatever it be, that's 40 hours, well, plus commuting, let's say 50 hours a week that it's empty. If I can monetize some of that time in a situation, an economic situation of an economic recession, then why wouldn't I? If it gives it's free money that supports the environment. And there's a beneficial effect. So if I add as an end user, let's say there's more electric vehicles. I have an electric vehicle. That's why I have a charging point at my home. If I allow other people to use that charging point, then there's more probability that others are going to allow charging points, which actually in the long run benefits me indirectly because I have more charging points. So I think there's a beneficial circle there, and at the end of the day, I'm also earning money. So I think there's multiple trends that just thinking aloud that will help you. And then I'm just going to jump to well, they're not really questions. So Deepan asks about any webinars, and I don't quite get the question. So Deepan, if you could explain it better, we'd understand. But if you're talking about the pitching sessions that we're going to do as the Connectivity Hub, they're the 8th, the 15th, the 21st, and the 29th of July at 12 CET. As I say, there's 5 verticals, and we're more or less splitting them into each session. And if it's webinars related to HomyHub, I have no idea. Do you do webinars from time to time? I mean, we're doing this. I don't know if you do any. Where you explain this to the community, or?
No, but maybe this will push a start on this to make it happen.
Well, there you go. And then somebody this is just for a moral boost that Diego says, Enzo cracks through this. Okay.
Cheers, Diego.
So anyway, so just I'd like to jump into the Connectivity Hub, what value it adds to you, the investor event, whatever. Just before I do that, is there anything else that I should be asking you, or that you should be mentioning before I jump off HomyHub and into Connectivity Hub?
Sure. I will go on my sales part in here. So if you have a garage, don't miss a chance to get our product. You won't regret. I mean, even if you have a single family one, for sure. I mean, you can see our reviews everywhere, like on Google, App Stores, Android and iOS, and you will see what I mean in terms of the users being amazed about our product. And if you have a community, even more. We had really, really happy users on multifamily communities. Now in Madrid, but we're expanding to the rest of Spain. And that is just get a quote on our website, and that's it. And we'll make it happen. We'll go to your community meeting. We'll present it there. And the last 9 meetings that we were pre-COVID, before the rest we are reactivating now. It was approved unanimously. Sorry, I forgot how to pronounce that word.
No.
Thank you, Tom. So that's it. Don't miss a chance.
and actually, the single family home isn't very expensive. It was
149. That's right.
149 euros.
We have it on discount because of the COVID thing. I think it's ending this week. I don't even have to ask my marketing team. But it's on 135. So now there's another even more reason to buy it. And it's not public on the website, but we recently even we're continuously evolving the product as a product company. And this week we launched the integration with Siri. So you can even talk to this smart assistant through your smartwatch and everywhere to control your door. And we're soon launching Google Home, to Google Assistant and Alexa, in terms of more features complementing the value of our product. And this is like, it just has piece of the value of the product in this case. But I will cut because I can talk about this forever.
No, but to be honest with you, I don't know if other people have the same problems. I've got no idea what system they use. But in our offices, which, there are like 12 blocks or something, so quite large installation. The garage doors work so badly, and it's not just that it's not just people losing the cards or whatever. It's just the system doesn't work well, and so they have a system, and it's the hardware itself. So to have the hardware and software, because it's an integrated system. So to have somewhere where if there's a software bug, you can update it on the fly. The hardware is actually relatively simple. Yeah. So there's not much that can go wrong. I just think there's often that we're sitting in a queue behind 3 cars because somebody's waiting for somebody to come and manually open the gate, right? So, but I'm sure we're not that. I'm sure I'm not the only person that's had that. So anyway, so we'll jump into the Connectivity Hub. So the first question I have for you is, why did you join in the first place? So we're a network of 150 now smart mobility startups, and you now understand it from inside. You know what value it gives and whatever. But what initially made you join?
So there was, basically, I don't know now actually, because I haven't researched. I'm very related with the smart mobility sector, but I haven't actively researched too. But at least when I joined, that was like almost like a year ago, more or less, a bit more, a bit more, a bit less. There were very, very, very few organizations or let's call it whatever, communities, focus on smart mobility. There was a lot of noise on smart mobility, but very few people gathering smart mobility people to push synergies, investment, and everything, basically to push smart mobility to make it happen, right? I think has been a strong push since last year, at least also, as you were saying before, even in the public sector. So now there are calls for public funding and so on but it has been almost like a year or so, not that much. Before there were very few niches on this, like smart mobility. So that was the first reason why, because I was looking to be part of a community that is actually focused on this, because again, as being part of a specialized community is more rich. The conversations you can have, the contacts and everything, right? So this is obvious. I'm not gonna extend on here, but basically getting the benefits of being of a community that is specialized on this sector, right? Yeah. So that's one side. And sorry, Tom, you wanted to ask?
No. Carry on. I was going to jump to the next question, but if you're still answering, carry on answering.
So again, this was, and even more in Spain. I mean, I remember that when I was researching, I know there are, of course, in UK, which is always pioneering in Europe in terms of startups. And of course, in Germany, because smart mobility car manufacturers, like, okay, there is no chance they are not focused in this. Yeah. But in Spain, if you were not the only ones, you were about to be the only ones last year, or at least 1-2 years ago. So the one of the reasons I joined to get the full of that, and of course, including also the connections with investors. Again, when I mentor also I'm a guest lecturer in the IE Business School and other universities too for entrepreneur subject. And many people say, "Oh, where should I look for investors?" I say, look, investors are looking at you. So what I mean by this is investment is a marriage. So you kind of look for girls that are not interested in you, in this case, girls or boy, whatever is your preference. And therefore, that was another reason. Say, when we need investment, this is a place where those people are looking for companies like ours in this case. So that was also the reason why we joined.
Yeah, but I did a talk with Boyd from HomyHub at the beginning of this week on exactly the same topic, and he said something, a very similar answer actually. He said that being in a community of people that are focused on the same problem, for him added huge value, and not just value in terms of support, because on the WhatsApp group we have, whatever, there's a lot of information that gets distributed, which I think is useful to those that are in the group, but also in terms of commercially, he's doing deals with people within the association that otherwise maybe, I mean, if he proactively searched them out, maybe it would have happened, but it just happened naturally because both of them knew that they existed. So just that explains why you joined in the first place. But what value does it add to you? I mean, now, given what we're the stage you're at, whatever, what value does it add to you now? Why would you suggest, now that you're inside, why would you suggest that other startups should think of, or even investors think of, joining the community? Why?
So in this case, I will go back in one specific point on this is synergies. So no matter the type of synergies you're looking at, I mean, from a personal standpoint, and one of my team, we're 12 right now. So everyone is good at something, right? Or is the best at something, most of it. I'm good at networking. And I really believe that is in the life, most of the things it's not about who you are, it's about who you know, and in a good manner. Because most of the things won't come most of the time directly from you. It will come from people you know, and that people will allow you to get whatever you need or to go whatever you want in this case. And again, it will come directly and indirectly. And most of the things actually usually come indirectly to someone that calls and say, "Hey, I know you were doing this, and know about why we don't do that together." Or by any chance, they bring you a client. Yeah. So these chances are even higher when you are in a specialized network in this case. So it allows you to expand the network of other related companies. We have some projects now going, most of them confidential, so that's why we cannot tell like publicly, with part of the other startups that are in the Connected Mobility Hub, and it come due to the relationship we had there, for example, in this case. So that's on one side, and the same goes for investors, I will say. I mean, most of the startups do not say, "Oh, if I cannot," but in the Connected Mobility Hub, they are very, how is it that in English? Very polished, to say it. So in this case, startups are doing amazing things in terms of smart mobility, not only with the scope of Spain, but most of us, we're already global scope in this case. I mean, our aim is not conquer the Spanish market. Our aim is to start conquering the European market to then go to the rest of the world. So in this case, for sure, it's a place to be looking at interesting things to happen, because most of the other companies I know, they're doing really amazing things in terms of smart mobility. So those are the two. I mean, if we go to one keyword in terms of SEO, is synergies. Is a great place to make synergies in smart mobility.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, one of our objectives for the medium long term is also to try to improve those synergies across borders. So this year, for example, the investor event is the most international one that we've had. I mean, we've been growing. You know, obviously, a lot of it started in Spain. Most of the teams in Madrid. So you know, Spain was obviously the initial focal point. Now there are the newer startups that are joining tend to be from other countries. Or there's a majority from other countries, and I think there is a huge opportunity to create synergies across borders, particularly in Europe, which obviously is a fragmented market generally because of language, laws, etc. I mean, we all know the problems, and let's hope that, you know, the digital single market becomes a reality at some point. I mean, it is a reality, but let's, you know, one that works, one that works slightly better. But you know, at the moment, it's more fragmented, and obviously that for startups generally creates makes it more complicated to compete with particularly the Chinese or the US startups that have, or Brazilian, you know, the startups that have a unified or a larger home market.
Yeah.
So just talk us through your specific experience at the investor event last year. I mean, I was very impressed. I must admit, you were very focused. You know, you're talking about doing the networking and whatever. You identified who you needed to go to. You asked us for support. I remember you asked me, "Oh, gee, who should I speak to?" And I thought, this is brilliant, because, you know, most people weren't doing it. So it was, you know, and we were able to help you identify, look, you need to speak to this person, to that person, to the other. But you know, and then I remember, you know, it's the end of the event, and you were sitting there really peaceful, and you went, "Oh no, I've done what I need to do now." And you were completely right. You've done exactly what you needed to do. But you know, I know that. But just explain it to everybody else. How was your experience?
So in this, by the fact you just said, like, I was asking where to go, and I go on this point, well, for 1 sec, it's what I always say also to other entrepreneurs, is like, don't be afraid to ask. Never. I mean, you could go faster if you ask most of the times. So there's always people that know better than you everywhere, everything. Not only in terms of people, but in terms of facts or subjects, but also in terms of people. That's actually how every time that, not only in the event, but every time I met an investor in our roadshow, to set so the offering of raising the round, when investors said no or yes, even when they say yes or no, I always ask, like, okay, who do you think could be interested in us? And that leads to the next warm introduction in this case. Maybe not me, but I think Tom could be interested. Okay, oh, sure. Please introduce me to him, because you know him, I don't know him. So it will be a great introduction to make it happen, right? So closing that point, I'm trying to give the most value I can on this call, so that's why I'm also sharing this point. In terms of the event, it was actually an amazing story. I mean, previous to that event, it was like 1 week before. We were in the middle of a crowdfunding round. I remember, so 2 weeks before, we had a minimum target. I think it was 300 and 350 in terms of euros, because I always confuse it with pounds in this case. So
yeah,
and we had already all the money committed to make it happen. We were closing one ticket that was already interested, an investor that followed us from USA from long time ago, but due to a compliance between USA and European investment, we lost that ticket. It was a big ticket. And it was like, oh man, we had all this solved already. So suddenly, two things appeared. So one of them was the South Summit Malaga last year, which was focused on smart mobility for the first time ever, and the Connected Mobility Hub. In this case, what happened is simultaneously, and as long as I remember, you also had a synergy for the
we were helping them bring investors to the event. That's why we did it one day after the other. Yeah.
Exactly. So actually, all this happened while I was in China with the mass production. So we lost a ticket, and I was in China. It's like, oh man, what am I gonna do now? Fuck! It's like this cannot be happening. Sorry for the bad word. And suddenly, South Summit Malaga called us, and you called us and say, okay, well, things happens because of. I mean, this happened because we were again knocking many doors, as everything you should have, because this is conversion rate. So you cannot wait like one door you open and it will work. You have to knock 100, and 2 or 3 or 5 max will work. Yeah. So we went there. We went we pitched in South Summit Malaga. From that South Summit Malaga, that was one of the investors that we didn't know him from before. And it's actually one of our investors from OnTruck in this case. He came to us and say, I don't know, I know you from before, your startup. I don't know you personally, but I want to be in. I say, well, I was like, okay, cool, amazing. You say, okay, one check mark. Great. Then we went to your event, in this case, to the Connected Mobility Hub. And again, I already screened who could be and so on, and happened more or less the same thing. We pitched, and it was straightforward. It was kind of an amazing, and this is where I highlight again the fact of the difference where you go to places that could be interesting on you. We went to a place which was focused on smart mobility, and we were the kind of profile attractive to that kind of investors. So to close the story on this, from these two events, mostly from Connected Mobility Hub in terms of tickets, we not only saved the ticket that just lost 2 weeks ago, but we even increased. We came out out of these 2 days saving the round by the art of magic. I couldn't believe myself neither. It's like, okay, and of course, domino effect happened simultaneously. I mean, it was kind of a magic that happened during those 2 days, because then all the investors call me. It's like the round is also the deadline effect, I call it. The round was about to close, so all the other investors that were somewhere interested in at some point call us like, don't leave us out. Basically, we're going to be part of it. So due to this, we saved our round, and we not only close it, but we close it oversubscribed it. So we went oversubscribed by like 160% or so. As always, I mean, oversubscribed effect, let's call it. So once you reach,
And I think 160% is actually the legal limit or something. There's some legal limit to how much you can oversubscribe, or maybe that's changed.
In Spain it is, but as we are like a dual,
you're in the UK, yeah.
Exactly, there is not. But yes, in Spain there is a limit, and I think it's even shorter. I think it's 120, if I'm not wrong.
Maybe, yeah.
But it's a matter of checking with Crowdcube or any of these guys.
Okay, well, that's really good news. As I say, I mean, it doesn't surprise me. One, because we that's what we were working to, right? To bring the people to the event. That's why we collaborated with South Summit in Malaga as well. But also, it doesn't surprise me. So that was the objective. So great, we fulfilled the objective. It doesn't surprise me because, as I say, you did it really well. Now, there were other startups at the event that didn't do it so well. And it's like you say, it's not just a question of luck, or you make your own luck. You were very focused. You knew what you needed to do. You did your preparation in advance, and the results came out of it. So fantastic. Okay, so just one last thing, which again is sort of allows you to do a bit of a sales pitch, I guess, is who right now. What company, what fund, what investor would be your perfect investor? I don't think you have an open round right now, do you?
No.
Or do you? No.
Not yet.
But exactly. If somebody were to knock on the door and it was an investor, who would that be, or what type of investor would it be right now?
So for our next phase, very likely we have two types of investors. So one of them linked to logistics sector due to this because again, from all our connected, our new generation services, the one we want to push faster is the secure delivery, but for many strategic reasons in this case. So it could be an investment fund related in this case or a big courier, hopefully an international courier, so a worldwide scope in this case. And actually the other type of investors that can be is also related. In our case, we are at the base, we're hardware, right? So we see our hardware right now like as a Troy horse. We don't see ourselves as a hardware company itself. We see as a services that is using the hardware to build the services and actually get us a Troy horse in the garages in this case. But hardware in any case.
Trojan. That was a bit of Spanglish.
Trojan. Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Tom.
No worries. I understand Spanglish.
Good that we're talking, that this conversation is happening with you. So the other one in a case can be related to smart mobility, and it's possible to hardware. Because again, they are specialized on making hardware a reality. Again, as in every business, distribution is key, right? So this is what we will gain with someone that has experience on international distribution with hardware in this case. So to make sure HomyHub is available in every single possible place in the markets we're targeting at. But in any case, that also comes along with the partners we're working in the new generation services. So that's, I will say, that the two type of investors we will very likely looking at in the future. But it will be, my main element is investors that that believe in our mission. Could be even not the perfect strategic fit in terms of who the investor is involved, but for us, what is even more important is that they truly believe in our mission. Because on that, we are sure that in the same way that we are pushing day-to-day focus on our mission, they will allow us and they will push with us to push our mission without having to have a deviation of focus on what we're doing. But that's the mainstream. So if any investor on this call is hearing to us and is got in love with the mission of unlocking the full potential of garages, that's already a great check mark on us for the people we want to be part of our company in the future when we want to raise a round in this case.
Or I guess generally anybody focused on sort of smart home and as well, because
exactly that's a link in this case from a hardware standpoint. Can be a smart home or even garages in this case, but garages is a very industrial sector. It's very rare that there are a few companies of garages that have a fund in this case, but again, yes, it will be hardware, smart home related products. But for us, it's again in the priority chances is even more important smart mobility, because again we don't see ourselves as a hardware company. But it will be an amazing mix. If it's smart mobility with a smart home, then we're done. Basically, we had our perfect our perfect profile on site.
And I'm just sort of thinking aloud, and it's possibly a completely stupid idea, so it's not something I should be doing publicly, but more in a private brainstorming. But I'm just wondering, you know, with all, obviously COVID-19 has really hit hard local businesses, physical retail. And as a result, there are, you know, in every city around the world, there are loads of shops, bars, closing, you know, now don't open. All of them have got sort of, well, most of them have got sort of shutters, metal shutters, etc., etc. And there's also a huge opportunity for localized logistical hubs in inner cities. And I'm just wondering, I mean, I've got a participated startup called Dropia that do sort of virtual warehousing. They call it flexible warehousing, but basically they use specific warehouses. They put a SaaS on top, and people can hire, rent out warehousing space on the fly, as it were, as flexible as they like. And I'm just wondering if that kind of opportunity in terms of logistical hubs doesn't fit really well with what you're doing. I mean, I know you've been focusing on garages, but I'm just wondering if that doesn't exist for, you know, if somebody's got a locale in Spain, a retail shop that's closed, they've got a metal shutter. Well, in a way, you could instantly turn that into a logistical hub for whoever. I mean, you know, and then if you link that together with a sort of, like I say, a Dropia style virtual warehousing SaaS, you've got a you know, you've got 360-degree solution for anybody that needs warehousing space. So it's not just logistical parties for the shop that, or for the bar down the road that needs somewhere to store their Coca-Cola. You know, their water. You know, you've got. I don't know. Anyway, it was just an idea.
and it totally makes sense. I mean, I can say, I'm thinking, what can I say? I can say that we are working towards, also in terms of some pilots we have on the table that very likely will come to life on September. On that route, more or less. Sorry for not saying too many things.
Anyway, no worries, man. As I say, I mean, I just share ideas, but obviously for you, it's got there's a commercial aspect.
But definitely makes sense. And in terms of a scope, even though our focus in this case, in terms of type of clients, in any case, our main focus is residential, as we talked before, and this is strategically selected too, in this case, not only because of the product, but also the strategy of the company. But in any case, we also have companies, businesses using us in the product layer. We have logistics hubs using our solution. The main providers of Uber and Cabify in Madrid, for example, that they have these fleets of cars with chauffeurs for these platforms. They use our solution because they have like 200 drivers in a warehouse. It's a mess of remotes and access control issues. So they use our solution. And we also have some stores using it. So we have, for example, part of the tea shops. This is a store called Tea Shops, using our solution to manage the shutters on their stores for the employees in this case. It's not, again, these clients usually they come to us. It's not that we reach to them, but there's a solution. It's a value for them for the using it. And then we can link everything, as you said before, right? So 360 degrees in terms of not only product, but service, which is an important part for us to be sure we build the basis to make that happen.
Well, exactly. Well, and you know what I'll do, because I don't know if you're in contact with him, I'm going to put you in contact with Raul from Dropia as well, so that you can at least start some conversations about that. In fact, I think you're in contact, but I'll just make sure that you are. All right. Anyway, Enzo, well, I'll push it just a little bit. So Enzo, listen, many thanks for that. I think it's been really, really interesting, very useful. We've gone on far longer than we intended to. And you know, if anybody is interested in HomyHub, they should get in touch. And those people that are watching this, obviously for the investor event and the Connected Mobility Hub, you're a startup, think about joining, because I really do think it adds value. And you know, there are two of you that I've spoken to this week, and you've said exactly what I thought we would. What we've been trying to do is actually what we are doing. So that's also great feedback for us. And for those that watch this that are interested in the investor events, it's the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, and the 29th of July. 12 o'clock CET on the 8th and the 15th, and 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock CET on the 21st and the 28th. So there you go. Every day, 12 o'clock CET. So thanks a lot, Enzo, and we'll speak soon.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye.